The universe does want you to be abundant. The universe does want you to thrive. It just wants you to do so from a perspective that's larger than yourself so that it feeds, serves, supports the whole. That's the conversation this week on the update and the energy report. We've got Pluto out of constriction. You should feel a breath of fresh air in this 2026. I'm your host, Candace Johnson with Lightworker Radio. Let's get into it. Super quick fun announcement. I'm doing my first live 2026 energy update report for the year at Roses in Detroit on Jefferson. If you're in Detroit and if you're in the Detroit area, you can come. There are 27 spots and they're going to fill up fast. Okay. You can register in the description. If you are not in the area and you still want to see the 2026 energy report, it's a whole download on creation. And we're going through the entire year of energy and all the planets. I will have it live while I'll be presenting there and here. Okay. So register for if you want to come in person, and you can see the live will be up so you can subscribe if you'd like to participate in watching that. The theme of the week is the mantra: I release the noise of society's ideas of success and reach towards my own heart's calling. The question that I want you to ask yourself, if you have not already, and even if you have, maybe more is going to come to you, but how do I serve? Not how do I make money? How do I get rich? How do I become successful? How do I become famous? How do I get more followers? How do I serve? That question is going to unlock a lot for you, and it's going to lead you to opening up more of your experience within creation and how you create. Okay. Now, let's start this conversation off talking about Pluto because it is our farthest planet away. It's affecting everyone, it's affecting everything. And it just made a major move. Okay. So, for the last 4 years, it's been going through the energy of constriction. It's called cracking the vessel. I talked about this a lot last year. You can even go back to my Pluto. I did a whole astrology or a whole energy report on Pluto by itself. And let me tell you, it was really about feeling like you were limited and stuck and didn't know where to grow. And it was asking you to go into this stuck place and like free yourself. Okay. And it's from realizing you were never really stuck and being where you are without feeling like a prisoner. That's where the energy was and what we had to get through. And now, as of the 10th, while we are experiencing the last quarter moon in Libra, Pluto has moved to 3 degrees. Okay. It will be in 3 degrees until 2028. So, this next layer of messaging, I'm going to be unpacking the entire time, but we're going to start and then keep working it and keep looking at it and keep examining it as we go through the experience. But remember, Pluto is an Aquarius, the rebel with a cause, information on the ground, spilling out and sharing and opening and changing and revolutionizing this world that we're in, really supporting this ascension process, ensuring that we are, as a collective, creating the proper components necessary for everyone to thrive at the same time. Currently, the system does not work like that. And that is really what we have to talk about. And for the last few years, nothing has been more apparent to us than how limited the system is and what we can do and our rights and what was justice, right? This was all about justice and freedom and remembering you were free already. So having left that energy and stepping into this new energy, which is attached to Gene Keys 41, I Ching 41, Human Design 41, which we're going to talk about next. I want you to consider that your transformation, the transformation, personal and not personal, full society, collective, maybe we don't see the waves or the reverberation of that yet, but the collective, us, have been inspired, moved, transformed in the direction to create a new way of thriving in this society. Okay. Okay, so because we have moved into a new energy with Pluto, we have a new shadow, and our new shadow is fantasy. Hence the dragon and the whips and waves and the castle. Okay, now this one is really cool, but it's so I prefer this to a cracking of a vessel, even if it does not lead to my greatest whatever creation, because at least I can fantasize, right? I can go into my dreams, but you can too. But the point about this is I want to really get the part that we want to focus on here is the idea that fantasy is next to illusion. It's like a gift, a dream without movement is just a wish that will stay in your head, distracting you and not actually concretizing on earth. And a lot of this is fueled in the idea of our mirroring of society or reacting to society within the realms of our abundance being completely external and based on validation. So we can be stuck in fantasy based on how we move. And this week, especially, I want you to really concentrate on where your desires are that are yours, that are real, that are true, and where your desires are that are infecting you based on what you've seen and have perceived. Okay, let me give you an example. So, this is the reason I try to stay off of Instagram. But I'm going to start with Pinterest because when I'm not on Instagram, I go to Pinterest. Okay, and I love to look at the recipes and all of this stuff. So, it's a great place. Except for, I realized in the last week, because of the amount of dessert that I have been looking at, I'm just craving dessert all the time. I want a donut so bad with like Oreos on top and like it's got to look this specific way. I don't even know where I'm supposed to find this donut. I didn't really have a desire for this donut before I got on Pinterest. Okay. So while Pinterest is feeding me images of inspiration for my home, my office, and, gardening tips, it's also feeding me false desires, and it's making it so like instead of actually going for and using that desire energy for the things that I actually want to achieve in life, it turns it into a hunger and a craving for me to want to fulfill. When you go back to even Instagram with all of the noise in the world and you see, people who are fake rich and, for me, it's not even, I don't follow many influencers, but I'll say like, Instagram tips to grow, right? You think you're doing fine in the world, and then you get on Instagram and you get this whole stream of tips that help you grow, and you now think you have not done anything. Okay, you got to start from scratch. You have not done enough marketing, you haven't put the SEOs in, you didn't do the right hook. All of these things are feeding me. So all of a sudden, something I don't even really care about that much, I'll be honest with you. I now have desires to be good at just based on the mountain that you would have to climb to do it and all of these people giving you advice. It's like, oh, okay, this is what I have to do. And you could go in that whole direction trying to get enough clicks on Instagram and completely ignore the rest of your life, right? So when I leave it, there's this sense of peace about not having to correct or adjust portions of my life that I hadn't even thought about before, but now I'm confronting because of this internet, right? And there becomes an obsession in these fantasies of and almost like creating our own routes to success based on something that's not concretized. You don't really know when you're getting there and you don't really know how it's going to happen. You just have instead this sustained momentum that you have to keep to ensure that you really just have to keep going until something the dam breaks, something changes, something else happens, right? And we end up looking for validation in these distractions that actually keep us from pursuing and going in the right direction towards the goals that we had in mind before. And I want you to really hone in on the what you're creating as a business person and where you may be fantasizing about how you'll make it and how you'll get it out there and how you'll embrace the topic and all of these different things. And where is it actually true, real, you, authentic, natural, from higher self, from source? And where is it from the world, right? Wanting to be viral on the internet is not going to do anything for me. I've been viral on the internet and I am still not where I would want to be financially from that virality. Okay. So that's not even my answer. So why am I fantasizing in this direction? It's only because this information has been implanted in me and given me a place to put my desire while because it's just momentum that you're sustaining with the work that you're doing. It's like it's really hard to keep the desire in one direction. It's easy to like want to move somewhere else and say, okay, maybe I'm not even doing it right anyway, and I got to change course completely, right? So I see how this is showing up in my life. I'm asking you to look into how it's showing up in your life. I couldn't think of any other cuter image than these. They look like anticipation to me. So anticipation is actually the gift here. It's not that you have to ignore desire. We have to shift desire, okay? And that is where I want us to really focus. To anticipate versus to fantasize is to be excited about something without seeking the reward of the end result. It's craving something from the idea that desire is not bad. And even fantasy in itself, when you have a dream and you have an idea, that's not inherently a bad thing. These ideas, when they're in the shadow, can do one of two things. Either you become crippled by it and you can't make any moves, or you focus so much on what was in your mind that as you're trying to bring it down to earth, you can't have anything but that. It leads us to kind of isolate ourselves and try to get it exactly this way we saw it. When in reality, there was a sensation that we were trying to experience from creating it and a sensation we wanted from the, let's say, audience that we're trying to get across. And it's not necessarily bogged down in the details. Okay. And I think what happens is we get lost in that fantasy detail and we lose ourselves instead of holding on to what I would say is anticipation, holding on to the excitement and the joy and the mystery and the juice that is within us climbing for our dreams and using that to fuel ourselves. It's instead of doing that, it's creating a distraction so you're not really moving anywhere. One keeps you moving forward, one depletes you. One nourishes you, one depletes you. Now, last time we spoke was right around the holidays, and we talked about the genie, the genius, and this idea that we partner or we pair with creation to collaborate in the experience. Anticipation is collaboration without trying to control or allow it to like, it's like you're not dancing. Collaboration is dancing with it. You're either trying to lead it or you're not even getting in the dance is when you're in the shadow, okay? But when you recognize that we're here to collaborate on this creation and that we are actually pulling something precious from the blueprint of the universe that's serving us because it sees a need in society, we get the idea, we hold that need, we collaborate with it, we create with it to serve the whole. Okay, we'll get more into that, and you recognize it is not just about you, then you don't necessarily need to grasp fantasy. You instead recognize that your job is to show up. So when you're in a state of anticipation and you recognize that this energy is here to collaborate with you, you show up every day and say, okay, I'm going to write for 2 hours. I'm going to paint for an hour. I'm going to study for this much time. I'm going to work on my practice for this much time because I know that it's sustained effort and it's discipline that are actually going to make these dreams come true. And and you can find what we're really trying to do is saying that when when I have this big house, I'll be happy. When I can go on vacation twice a year, I'll be happy. When I can have a vacation house, I'll be happy, right? It's saying, you know what? I'm going to be happy because I have this beautiful idea that wants to work with me. And I'm going to put my joy in this portion of it so that I can actually sustain, control, hold this beautiful energy instead of letting it wild out on donuts and the idea of owning a Bentley or something, right? And if you when we realize that the genius is flowing through us and using us as a vessel, that vessel that's been cracked now has been reforged to and purified to allow for a more congruent or a more even pattern of distribution into the field from there to here, going through you. Okay, you're the filter. What if that's the whole thing? We think the end is the whole thing. We think that the reward, but in reality, every time you get to another level, you'll have a desire to get to another level. You'll never stop. So we have to learn to be comfortable in the actual journey and not stuck so much either on the future or even the past, because this can lead us to be stuck in the past about what we've done before and how we maneuvered before and what happened before. And then, in the future, it's like, what's going to happen and how am I going to do this and where is my money and all of these things. You have to actually be very firmly rooted and working and walking with in tandem this creation, this thing you're bringing in, so that it shows up right. We have a responsibility for it to show up to the collective the way it needs to be without our stuff attached to it. Now, at some point in our progression and our ascension, we will reach what they call emanation. And this is a state. This is a state of bliss, and it's a state that can't truly be described well. It's connected to authentically allowing the experience to unfold in a way where you're so open, you're such a vessel, you're so purified that it's just like pure love is pouring from you into the experience, right? And it no longer becomes about what's going to happen next. You're so into where you are now that you can actually hold more of that purified energy and you glow. Point blank, you actually emanate. And you become then an attracting vessel, a magnet for the collective to how did you do this? And this is how you teach and grow and evolve the rest of the collective. Okay. And the point is evolution. And evolution does require some form of material success in this creation. Mostly because if you notice, the thing here is kind of like slavery and freedom. And to truly be free is to be abundant in the way that you have all of your needs cared for, right? And we are all on that journey in some way. And I found this to be a really interesting week because it's really centered around greed, dreams, authenticity, and how you put something out. And there's a lot of support for us to do this the right way with trines and sextiles to Saturn and Neptune and Uranus, so our structure, our dream, how we change and evolve, how we grow and what we need to shift. The North Node and the South Node, our destiny and our past, they're all really supportive of this energy that I'm going to show you next. And it's really saying, we've got everything ready for you backed up here. You're going to have to let go, lightly release these belief systems, these fantasies, these distractions, these things that aren't serving you, so that we can really do this together and do the damn thing. Okay. Because something's coming through. The question is what's coming through. And if you can see the screen, if you're not on the podcast, there's a giant square in the middle of our natal chart. I circled it here, okay? And look at this. We have a giant stack of planets in Capricorn where the sun is. So we've got, technically in a lineup, we've got Mercury, Mars, the sun, Venus, and Pluto. But really focused on one energetic point is the sun, Venus, and Mars. And now the sun, Venus, and Mars have been in Capricorn, and they've been in this really weird tango where the sun is in the center and Mars is on one side and Venus is on the other side. And it's like yin yang balance is happening. Okay. So the masculine and the feminine are uniting this structure. In Capricorn is really important because that's all about the climb. And where we're climbing to is like a higher version of ourselves. It's all about getting to the top. It's all about hierarchy, ascension, these kind of ideas, right? And when you think of both Mars and Venus here, I think it's trying to get us structured. It's trying to get both of our creative expression and our force and our drive. The sun is lighting it up, focusing in on them, putting energy there like a plant, forcing sun on it for a very important reason. And while it's doing that, it's forming a little bridge to Libra and the last quarter moon, meaning it's like the last, it's the final countdown, like it's the end of something. We are trying to clean up something here with the square to Jupiter, which has been retrograde in Cancer, and it's like inside our shell. So think about the hardest, most densest, darkest, deepest energies within us, these wounds, trying to clear them out because the vessel's been cracked by Pluto before. It took 4 years. We're going to be in this new space of trying to get to our light. It's going to go in there and it's going to clean up anything. And Jupiter is like that magnifying glass looking into the Cancer crab shell for what needs to leave, what has to go, and then forming another connection to Chiron, which is all about our collective wound. Okay, these wounds that have held us down, have kept us from ascension, that have kept us in a format of greed and selfishness and war and tribalness, all of this. Okay, so imagine. But what we have to really focus on is going to be the Sun, Mars, and Venus. Because if Pluto is telling us that we need to emanate and we need to let go of fantasy and we need to focus in on collaborating with creation, okay, to bring our vision to life. Why is the sun, moon, and Venus telling us to let go of greed? That's what really got to me. And that is why I'm here to talk about this square. Okay. So it connects to the gene key and I Ching on greed. And because of where it is, it also toggles into the other energy. But when I saw that, I knew we were going somewhere with this. So let's talk about it. Okay. Greed is the idea that you don't have enough. It's the giant, giant fear that you cannot do it. You have to hoard. Okay. I will, if I don't have this, I'm not going to be okay. Okay. This is no judgment. But sometimes, if you hang out with individuals who have grown up with an exceeding amount of wealth, you very quickly realize that they may not have survived on this planet otherwise, and that they needed this money to do it. Maybe it's their first time around, but they can't take the pressure like the rest of us. Okay, so there's this greed. The same greed is also self-serving. I'm not going to have enough, and so you can't have any of it. And it is obviously what rules our world right now, and what people will do if you. It's so depleting. What they will give up, what they will burn down, who they will step over, what morals they will ignore to get to the dollar bill, the almighty dollar. I don't think we need any more examples of what people will do to become famous and rich in this country or this world. Okay. They will do anything. And that's the energy that has to die. That's the collective shadow that we're confronting with both our creative force, because both the divine feminine and the divine masculine have gotten completely out of balance here. With the divine feminine, with Venus, I think it's focused more on not knowing your value. And then with the masculine, it's the feeling of needing to control because of it. Okay. So there is some type of balance trying to happen here. And we've got this portal door, which is what I'm calling it, portal door, that is asking us to look into it, go there and see where you might be ignoring your own value or overvaluing based on a fear that is keeping you from actually reaching the thing that you want. It's going to hold you back if you're a good person. Because if you have force, you can always get money. Okay. But you can't always get happiness. You will get there and you might, it's going to counter back on you. You're going to feel a little miserable if you had to do a lot of shit, dirty shit, excuse my French. You know, I love to say it. To get there. Okay. There is a such thing as karma and retribution, even though it has nothing to do with what most people think. It comes from the soul. How we go about earning and how we go about value and how we go about charging and how we go about what we do with that money are all up for conversation. And it has to be discussed, especially with the last quarter moon being in Libra, which is all about government, which is all about justice, which is all about the other, which is all about community, which is all about communication and friendships and what you're out here saying. This energy happens to be connected to the idea of endurance. Okay. So you've got greed on one end of the spectrum, that being the shadow. And then on the other end, and really the greed goes away when you recognize that it's about more than you. We'll talk about that in a second. But then you're squaring up against like being able to endure, being able to sustain and keep up momentum, and not push too hard and not get because when you push too hard, it's because you really don't think it's going to happen and you're trying to throw everything at it, right? And then when you don't push at all and you can't sustain any measure, it's because you don't think it's going to happen and you don't have the energy to push through because of that thought. While looking at the wound of the collective wound of, again, we can go back to social media of like showing everyone is all about the Joneses and like needs to keep up with this, keep up with the clicks and keep up with this and change it because of the algorithm and do all these things. All of this is wrapped up in the same idea. And I think it's asking us to examine this wound and determine what our truest needs are and where we actually want to put our ideas of abundance. That's why I'm asking you, because this is really asking you, how are you serving? Because if it does not feed the whole, like all the trees in the forest, them roots go in and nourish the soil, which nourish all the other trees. If you're only there to take the nourishment and to not give it back, you can't be in this forest no more. So remember, the sun, Venus, and Mars are focused on greed. That's the shadow. The gift is aspiration. What do you aspire to? That is a bigger question. It's like, again, how do I serve? What did I come here to do? What's my destiny? What's my mission? What's the point? All of those things. When you aspire to something, you hold it at another level than when you like it's so much different than greed. It's all about, it's a soul thing. It's about feeling fulfilled. And your hunger becomes drive and it doesn't feel empty. It feels energizing. And again, it's all about looking for these places where you feel like you are being depleted and looking for the nourishment that can actually come from that same place. And instead of focusing on the negative, what does those hunger pains, that desire, that drive actually mean? It wants you to aspire to be something more. It wants you to aspire to great things. It wants new ideas. It wants excitement. It wants a better storyline than what we're most likely giving it. Okay, look, the universe requires information. Okay, we are just coding. All of the roads that have already been tread, they have all of that information. They've seen people in a white picket fence with two kids, a boy and a girl, and a dog. Okay, that's boring. That's not even what you want. Most of us are too terrified to actually say what we desire. We put it in the realm of fantasy and then look for, and instead of focusing on what the actual desire is, which is potentially to inspire people, to help move the world, to deliver something that makes them feel good, which are excellent aspirations. We focus on the end result as the fantasy of what that aspiration can get us instead of how we serve the other. All right. When you start asking instead of, what am I supposed to do? How can I serve? And you look for ways to bring to your community, you become more whole because what universe is going to say, no, I don't want you to serve. Nah, we're good. Okay, we don't need more greedy people. I could see the universe saying, nah, you don't really need a Bentley or you don't really need this. Or like, I could see that. But it's not going to say, especially at this point in the game, we don't need your help. Right? So what do you want to do to help? How do you fit into this large? Everything's going towards community again. We're reverting back to community. Okay. We gave it away to giant finance. We gave it away to giant corporations. They could not hold. It was too greedy, right? They became self-serving and they did not hold this gift well. They didn't pay people right. They screw people over. They don't make good products, yada, 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 yada. We are, the world is in desperate need of strong individuals who want to bring more to the world than they take. And how you serve the collective, it could be with organic food, it could be with beauty products, it could be with Reiki sessions, it could be in teaching, it could be in teaching people how to garden, it could be showing people where to vacation. No matter what it is, if your entire goal is to ensure that that other individual, that other party has a good time, you're doing the first part of manifestation that brings you abundance, which is giving. Giving is literally like it grows you, and it opens up your field. It doesn't take from you. And when you start focusing on the giving and you release the noise of the stuff, I'm talking to myself too. Release the noise of the stuff and start actually genuinely considering what is abundance to you without all that noise. You're going to sit there and be like, I never even really wanted that. What I really wanted was peace. Like I never really wanted that. What I really wanted is a place to have my friends and family connect. And then what you'll be amazed at is that more than that will be delivered, not less. And what we are actually doing when we hold on to these fantasies and greed and things like that is that we are holding on to a definition of what something is not even what it is, what something is not. And we aren't leaving space for some other information to come in to redefine, give you new ideas. You lock into something and you blind yourself, you darken the other corners that can have more information for you. Okay. So ascension is the sadi here. That's the goal. I don't find that to be a coincidence. And we don't stay at this energy long. It's an opening and it's a portal and it's an opportunity. And I believe that because we're at the last quarter moon in Libra, when we get to the new moon in Libra, it's going to be a time for us to release a lot of that. Right now, I think you got to need to look at the field to see what's left. You've been doing this without realizing it, okay? You've been asking these questions. I've been looking at my service prices all week. And you go through it and you're like, I need to be able to live and I have an hourly rate, but like I actually put time into this. And there's always this balance of like, am I being greedy or am I really just trying to hold on to my value? And we all have to determine what that is and where that lies with each of us, right? Because you can't undervalue yourself just as much as overvalue yourself. And when you communicate from that place, you always get people who are doing the same things as you. So you don't really get what you're looking for from the experience. And we're trying to shift that. So really open up to this energy and allow whatever needs to open up and tell you to come through. Now, I'm not here to give it all away. This is what the energy is going to look like on January 18th. Okay. This is with the new moon that's going to be in Aquarius. This is going to be huge. Look at the triangle there and then the squares that are there. I was expecting that. We're going to talk about this next week, but I just want you to know that that energy is going back to the Pluto cracking the vessel. So we aren't really done with that either. So while Pluto has moved and transformed us and sent out a reverberation, by the end of this next week, we have Mars, Venus, the moon, the sun, and Mercury all in the place that Pluto has cracked, sending you serious information, potentially to, like, I don't know, dress the wound. You've transformed here. So now that the transformation has taken place, and I think that the way it works is like, imagine the transformation being like the boiling of the bubbles. And I want you to think of like these planets as being the spices now going into the water. Okay. So once you became ripe for transformation, which is what happened with Pluto before, for the next, like, I think we're unlocking something here. You left space for more. And now Mars and Venus and the sun and the moon and Mercury, our messenger planet, our feminine, our divine, our focal point, our emotions. Both sun and Mars could represent masculine, and the moon and Venus could represent the feminine, right? And like this mighty balance is needing to come into creation. And the reason I think it's going to be squaring Force and Mars, because it's going to be a hard change, because it's talking to our wound and it's really examining something up close because Jupiter's still retrograde. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to really go into that new opportunity. But for this week, you're walking through the portal door. You're looking to see the real questions you need to ask. And what's the question you need to ask again? How do I serve? Let's go over that one more time, the theme of the week. So, I release the noise of society's ideas of success and reach towards my own heart's calling. I release it. Okay? How do I serve? These people out here can't tell me what success means to me. Only my own heart, my own desire, my own higher self, my own version of God, my own energetic resonance is going to reach to me and get me to where I need to be. Right? So let it go. Get off the don't get off the YouTube if you're watching this video, please. But get off the other internets. Start seeing where the things in your environment having you covet stuff you don't even really want. They're really just there to serve as examples of how we can get what we want. But those actual items aren't even necessarily what you want. Don't let them trick you and fool you, okay? Again, link in the bio if you'd like to join me for the Astrology and Energy Report of 2026 with a mighty download about creation that I'll be going over. It's going to be fabulous. And again, it will be on live. That will be up. You can sign up if you're in Detroit at the link in the bio. I will be talking to you again next week with the new moon in Aquarius. I'm very excited for this. I think it's going to be a great week. Go through the portal door. I'm Candace with Lightworker Radio. Thank you for being here.